let's make some chicken ramen. Let's get it. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with my ramen, right? So I discard the little package that come in here with the ramen, but we wanna make it just the way the ramen say make it, right? So I kinda like just give it a break, and whatever happens, happens right there, right? So let's just go ahead and continue these. Let's hurry up and get these in here because these cook very, very fast, right? So let's just take this out, right? Give it a little, see, there we go. You want to make it just the way the package says, right? These right here say, do it in 2 cups of water. Since I'm gonna do 3, we got 6. Now remember, I tell you, it only takes like a couple of minutes, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and continue. This is what I started doing off camera. You guys have seen this before. I'm just preparing, prepping, my veggies that's going in there, right? I don't use a whole lot of veggies like that, And then when I dice them down. I want to call this like a chop, right? So let me just do it this way so you guys can see. So I like them like this. I like them for them to have a little texture, So obviously I got green, now I'm doing red. And then I got some carrots over there. Just make yourself some matchsticks. That's usually what we call it. Maybe I should have put that on camera for you guys how to do it. Or maybe I should just make a video. How do I make certain things? Just to help out. So I'm gonna just go ahead and just do 2 more. Okay, so after about 2 minutes per the instructions on the bag, I'm gonna take these. We're gonna bring them over here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna shock them with that cold water, right? So I got a colander in here. Got my cold water. Right, and now we stop it from cooking. One thing you don't want is no mushy, nasty, ramen. Now, listen, we don't want these to, as we getting everything together, we don't want these to stick, right? So what do? We take a little bit of olive oil, just a little bit, and then mix it. Make sure a little olive oil gets on it all. This will prevent it all from, sticking. You want it to be able to be like this. These will cook just right. I went right at 2 minutes and hurry up and took them out. Because the main thing is you don't want them to be mushy, folks. But look at these right here. Very inexpensive meal to make, especially for those of you guys that got them gardens out there. You already grew some of the vegetables. Before I go on, I just want to pan over some of these ingredients right here, right? Don't let this overwhelm you. Some of these things you have and some of these things that you're gonna buy, you're gonna keep because we're gonna continue to make these, right? Now the full printable recipe is on my website, smokingandgrillingwithab.com, and that's WITAB.com. And listen, if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe and hit the like button for this video and let me know that this is what you like to see. And I'm gonna have a lot more of this, easy, simple recipes. And please don't let the quantity of things that you see, deter you. Now, I wanna show you this. Listen, I've already cut down the head of broccoli, right? And just got me some fruits. I'm gonna go ahead and just add everything here. And I'm gonna show you why. You guys will see why in just a minute. Once I start putting it in there. Now today I'm gonna be using my wok. I don't use it that often, not for like Asian dishes. I use it more for like, sometimes it's like my go-to pot, just to make whatever. So listen, I'm gonna put this over here. So I got my green bell pepper, my red bell pepper, and then I got my matchsticks, right? Of my carrot. And then you guys already had saw that I had, what was that? I had my broccoli flutes. Or florets, let's call them that. Now, these are over here like that. This just simplifies it. I just put it all over here, right? Now we're getting ready to move on to, cutting down our chicken, right? So I'm gonna put my bowl right here. You wanna cut these down into bite-sized pieces, right? So I'm gonna cut it down. Any of this little stuff like this, I just put it over here, kind of like just trim it up. Now I elected to use boneless, skinless chicken thighs because I like the fact that, dark meat is very, very flavorful. Not only is it flavorful, right? But it's tender. It takes a little bit more than just the regular breast meat. Because when you do breast meat, your temperature when it's fully cooked is what? That's right, it's 165. But here, it's gonna be 170, 172 works. So at 165, I'm gonna show you what we do. Right about 160, I'm gonna move on to something else, right? So what you wanna do is cut these down into even pieces. Now, the reason we try to get them all about the same size is because once we hit this in this wok, once we put it in there, we want all of the chicken to be, be fully done and cooked at the same time. So I got them like this because they're gonna kind of like tighten up a little bit and be about, they'll be a little bit smaller. But this is what you want, folks. Now you can make this with breast meat. Yes, you can. Just remember 165, and once you can verify that that's done, then your chicken is fully cooked. You want to have a bowl that's gonna be big enough, right, to get all of your chicken in, and then we gotta, mix up some seasonings, and then we want to go ahead and let it marinate, right? So the other bowl I felt like it was a little bit tight, and it's up to you how much you put in here, right? But you can see, I like them about this size. As you see, once we get them into the wok, they're gonna shrink a little bit, right? So first thing we're gonna do is come with our black pepper, right? And I'm gonna give it just a couple of pinches of salt. This is kosher salt, by the way. A coarse grind. A little cornstarch. And soy. Now I'm gonna get in here with this other hand. And we're just getting ready to move this around just like you see, folks. You want to make sure all of it is coated. Then once you got it, coated well, it'll get a little tacky on you. You know that's that cornstarch and that soy doing this thing, right? So now I'm gonna set this off to the side. We're gonna let that marinate just for a second. Let me clean up my station. Now we're gonna hit the wall. All right, so look, I set it up like this because this is what we're getting ready to do. We're gonna need a little oil to get started. We got our veggies right here. We got some ginger powder right here. And then we have some garlic cloves right here, right? So first thing I'm gonna do is let's put some heat under this wok. I'm gonna start with like a medium-high flame. Put that down. We're gonna go ahead and add some of this extra virgin olive oil. This is infused, by the way. You know what I mean? There we go. Now, you know how I put the extra virgin olive oil in here? You know what I mean? But you know, you guys can use sesame oil. You know what I mean? Get that just to start it off. I did a little mix right now, just in between this little cut. That right there is starting to look right? So the first thing I'm getting ready to do is, I like to usually use my, I like to start off with doing my garlic, but I'm gonna go ahead and start with my, I'm gonna start with my matchsticks first. My carrots, folks, because they're gonna need to break down just a little bit more. You know what I mean? So here we go. And then when I have something like a bed in there, that's when I like to bring in my garlic. Right, so we just move this in like this. Right, real simple. If you guys never ever used a wok before, you can know this works fine. You know, the same thing in like a big pan, big saucepan. Right, this smells incredible. Just adding a little bit of that sesame oil to it, did it. Right, now I'm gonna go ahead and bring in my green bell peppers. It's okay if something else gets in there. It's all gonna get in here ultimately. But the carrots are just a little bit on the thicker side, so I start with those. Right, and the key is when you're using the wok, you know what I mean, just to keep it moving. Right off the back, I can smell the bell pepper. You know what I mean? The aromatic that comes off of that, you can just smell it. Right, now I'm gonna cut with my red. I don't really have an order, but I always start with my carrot, because it seems like carrot takes just a little bit more to break down. You know what I mean? Everything else catches right up to it. All right, so I can feel them. My carrots, they starting to soften up. You know what I mean? We don't want to break them all the way down, right? So I just move these right there to the middle. Now I'm gonna go ahead, put a smile on my face and start adding myself a little garlic. All right, and now we let that garlic work. Now I'm getting ready to add, look at this. We bring that broccoli into the game. Now look at that. Right off the back, when you see this right now, you're saying, ooh, stir fry. Okay, so you see how this looks right here? That's looking good. The broccoli softens up really, really quick. And that's up to you, the texture, the way you like your broccoli to be. I like mine to be a little bit more on the soft side. Then if you feel like it's getting a little dry down there, you know what I mean, you can always just add yourself a little bit more of olive oil or sesame oil. Right, now I'm gonna move everything over to the side, and I'm getting ready to introduce my chicken. Now you guys can see that right there. Look, you can see the seasoning and everything that we put on there. This is what I'm talking about. Then again, like I said, if you feel like it needs a little bit more oil to it, you know what I mean, just add yourself just a little bit. Right? Let it heat up and let it work. Now we want to make sure that our chicken gets to be what? At least 160 before we move over to the next stage. All right, so I've been moving this chicken around, keeping all of my veggies off to the side. I have not put my mushrooms in because I like mushrooms in mine too. You know what I mean? But look at the color right now. You can see that some of the bigger pieces, all of it has shrunk. You know what I mean? But just look at it. This is it. The only way we're gonna know if we got 160, we gotta test it, right? So I got my thermometer right here. Let me just go ahead and get one of these bigger pieces. Oh yeah, that's 160. Oh, it say 165 now. Let me just see what this is right here. 169. You know what I mean? So, and then we're gonna continue to cook it too. So you see this down at the bottom? That's all cooked. That's all of the fine, everything that the seasoning that came off of our chicken, right? Check this out. Now I'm getting ready to come, because I want to have a little texture. Just put a little onion in here. You know what I mean? Look at that. Right? A little onion. And then I'm using a white, check this out. This is a white mushroom, you know? So now I'm gonna start mixing all of this in here like this together and let this cook down. Get those, you know, mushrooms together. Oh yeah. All right, so now you take everything that you have left, and that's gonna be our sauce, right? I'm just giving this a little stir. Right? Now, we just, no particular order, let's just get it all in. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Everything is right where I want it to be, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add my sauce, right? We're gonna give this a mix, and the last thing we do is we add in our ramen. Then once you got everything, you know, mixed thoroughly, right? I like mine to be a little bit on the saucy side, right? So now we just do, what I'm doing is I'm separating some of this ramen, and I'll be bringing it in here and just bring it into my dish just like this, right? Still got the heat on underneath the bottom, just mixing everything up. You'll see that it's not as saucy as you guys thought it was. And then once you got it completely mixed, I just turned off my fire, right? And look at that right there. Ooh-wee.